Hey guys, so I have been so fortunate that probably the majority of my life I grew up with women who were inspirational, motivational, go-getter, just did whatever it is that they wanted to do, finding true happiness for their lives type of women. So whenever March comes up, I try my very best to celebrate women in every way that I can. I partnered with GoDaddy and their Make the World You Want campaign to celebrate women who are making the world they want. I chose these women today for this roundtable discussion because when I think of that term, I think of these women. They are all in very unique lanes, but they are making the world they want. Enjoy. Hi guys, I am Andrea Lewis, and this is my roundtable discussion with these lovely ladies. And I would like us to go down the line and everybody just introduce themselves, say what you do, and we'll start with you, young lady.
I am Julissa Calderon. I am a producer for BuzzFeed. I also write, I also act, I also produce. Wait, did I already say that? Direct? I do it all.
You double produce.
Yeah.
My name's Ari Fitz. I don't know what I do. Still trying to figure it out. But I will say that I work, I started off as a YouTuber. That led to me getting back into modeling. That led to me getting back into acting. That led to me directing. That led to me producing. That led to me making comic books. That led to me speaking at schools and colleges. I do a diversity of things, but the one common thread between all of it is this what I want to do. I do what I want to do, and that's it.
Hello.
Yeah.
That's a great intro. I'm Sam Bailey. I'm a director, a writer, a producer as well, and an artist, I would say. Yeah.
I'm Shannon Boodram, and I am a sexologist and intimacy educator.
And I know you all individually, and this is so nice hearing these
But you should say yours, though.
Oh, should I? Okay.
Yeah.
I am Andrea Lewis. I'm an actress, and I'm a producer and a writer and a director and a content creator in general. I don't like to just limit it to YouTube because I think sometimes people, when they hear YouTuber, they think you're doing challenges. Yeah, you're just eating in front of a camera and you're I'm not doing that. Okay, so let's just kind of jump into it. I did something special. I put this out to my followers just to ask them if you guys were watching a roundtable discussion with creative women, what kind of things would you guys want to know? Most common question was, how did you overcome fear, doubt, self-esteem issues to literally start? I always say this to people, being a television actress. Going into the digital space for me was solely because I needed a creative outlet. I was super frustrated, not being able to control just how I represented myself. It was always agents and managers and just people that don't understand you, especially being a young person, especially being a woman of color. It's just to convince them of why this is funny or why this is interesting was very frustrating. So YouTube kind of created this place of relaxation, honestly, for me in the beginning. And then it just kind of became the hub. I always say this, that no matter my frustrations with having YouTube stuff, I'm still grateful for a channel because it's an outlet.
Yes.
At the end of the day. And that is actually harder than we think for most people to do. So tell me what kind of got you to the moment to say, I'm doing this thing regardless of what people think. Yes, Sam.
Yeah.
Yes, Sam.
Is it
Sam, stutter into it.
So my background was in theater, and I was an actor for a long time, and I grew up acting. And I remember, I was doing a play where I got asked to twerk in a slave costume with a gun pointed out to the audience.
What play is this?
Yeah.
It was a new play, and Chicago has it's a huge theater town, right? So, but a lot of these theaters are small black box theaters, but it's part of the culture. If you're part of theater, it's a really big deal to be part of these ensembles and stuff. And I remember being oh, I can't do this. I think this is my line. I was 23, 24, and I was I think this is my line. And then I got this reading done, which is I'm a little hippie-ish, and
That's okay. Same.
she told me, she was hey, the angels are mad at you because you're walking next to your artistic path and not on it. And I had been wanting to write, but I didn't like know. I was like, well, you have to kind of focus on one thing, so I'm just gonna be an actor. And yet, like, there were really like very little roles for like Black girls who looked like me in theater. And so I started writing You're So Talented, and that's how like, and I directed and wrote and acted in that. And then it completely changed my trajectory. Oh, wow. And so, and I don't know if I ever had a big idea. I didn't. I think it was similar to like I just needed a creative outlet, and I didn't want people. At that point, I was like, I didn't want anyone telling me what I can and cannot do. And then I got all this like validation from other people, which allowed me to keep going. I was like, oh, I like this, and also like other people seem to also like it. And that was kind of what got me going. I don't think I ever got like less scared. Even now that I direct in Hollywood a lot, I'm like, I don't feel like less scared. I always feel scared. I move through fear, right? But I think that that's what bravery is. It's not the absence of fear. It's like continuing to move through it even when you are afraid.
100%. 100%. Julissa?
I feel like I was so young. Like I was 23 trying to get into this Hollywood world. So I had whatever fear was, I was like, I'm 23 and there is no fear. You know, like I had that mindset.
Did you move to LA when you were 23?
I did. And I came for an audition. I didn't come to move. And I came with a bag and just stayed. And I look at it now and I'm like, are you crazy? You know what I mean? But at that age, you're just so fearless and you want it all. And you're like, whatever, I'm just gonna do whatever I wanna do. And to get to where I got to now, and it was like, now I'm like a name, I guess you would call it. It was all through YouTube and all that stuff. And I didn't want to get into YouTube because I was like, I'm an actress. Like, I studied theater, like, you know what I mean? I've done off-Broadway shows. And so then I got into this world and it was like, I had a friend tell me, well, what are you gonna lose? Yeah. And that was like, oh yeah, nobody knows me. Yeah. So let me just do this and see what happens. And sure enough, it paid off. So it was speaking of trajectories, like it was the trajectory that I was supposed to go on. I just didn't know it. So I don't think I had fear. I think it was more like I was like trying to push away from something and push away from like what I'm supposed to do to get me to where I want to get to. And now look, like I have more auditions. Now they call me in because they know who I am. So it worked out.
It's so interesting to hear people talk about like when you find it, you just know, and then things click. Like I want to take a page from your book and do a stutter. Like I started. Like I started at 19. I started again at 24. I started again at 30. Like I knew what my passion was at 19 years old. I didn't stick with it though because fear, other people's opinions, judgment got in the way. And it was when I turned 30 years old that I'm like, I'm 30. I live in a studio apartment. I am like a lot of different things, different people. I don't feel like I have a solid brand to me. Even though it's scary to put the sex word as like a forefront of what I do and to make that my focus, it's probably a lot less scary than not being able to make rent every month. It's probably a lot less scary than feeling like every time I'm in a conversation, someone says, what do you do? I go through 17 different panic attacks. So it was like I started many, many times. And it was only when I was like, it just can't get any worse. Just stick it through. That's when I actually started to see results.
I have probably I have a very varied background. I went to Cal for physics. Like I went to UC Berkeley thinking I was going to study physics and that was all I wanted to do. As a young Black kid coming up, I never wanted to go into entertainment because I felt like that wasn't too easy of a path. I felt like that was a path that everyone expected of me and I just hate doing what people expect of me. After like if there ever was like a driving force for me, it's like, what's the thing you're predicting from me? I'm not going to do that. Let's see if I can do this out. And so
yeah, that's an Aquarius. That's like a whole other discussion on just like horoscope.
It's crazy. So I went to school. Turns out I wasn't as good at physics as I thought I was. It was crazy. Confidence will make you feel away. And so I showed up and then I pivoted and I started working in tech. And there's so many articles written about like how I was going to be the next Zuckerberg. I started a company. I raised a lot of money. I hired a whole team.
Wow.
Yeah. All that happened before I've had a lot of different like selves, like iterations and like starts as well. So I did that. My company imploded. I lost all this money and I was back in Oakland in a 1-bedroom apartment with my mom trying to figure out what it is that I wanted to do. And at the time, I got scouted for the first time as a model and somebody came up to me. I was like, oh, you should be. And I was like, I've heard this story before. You're not going to sleep with me. Like, let's not do this. And they're like, no, really, I'm a photographer. I'm like, I've heard that too. And they're like, no, really. And so then I started modeling. But when I was modeling the first time, I was seen as like a very like a pretty, elegant like woman. And I started to like question my identity a lot, question my gender identity a lot, question my sexuality a lot at that time. So I stopped modeling because I just didn't feel like it was me. Like showing up in like a, you know, like a little black dress with my heels and like walking for like white people was just making me feel really uncomfortable. And so I stopped. And then I got casted on a reality show. And then I went on Real World.
I forgot about this life.
Yeah,
I know. This rich life.
I was on season 29. I knew that a lot of real worlders got stuck in kind of like the
reality life.
Yeah. And so that's what led me to YouTube. I got on YouTube because I was terrified of that being my only like access to fame is through MTV. And so I was like, well, I know that there are a lot of people on YouTube who are like kind of building businesses. What is that whole life about? And then I got on and I made a lot of friends. And I was like, y'all are like paying your bills and you're doing challenges. Like, what is this like, what is this industry I want in? And then I just started making a lot of content. But the content that like made me really excited was when I talked about my gender and my identity and using fashion and beauty to kind of tell those stories, which led me to modeling again, which led me to acting, which led me to directing, which led me to all the other projects that I do now. So I will say that like, even though I had a lot of different starts, a lot of them imploded. Like Real World, it was fun, but it didn't really do anything for like my growth as an entertainer. Going after tech was really fun, but like I learned that I like being kind of on camera. Like I really like being like that kind of person. But when I found YouTube and I could tell my own stories and I could create my own content and I was in charge, is when I started to like kind of materialize as the artist that I think I am now. And so I will say that YouTube is what started it, which is so funny because it gets such a bad rep.
It really does. It really does. But it's like listening to everybody's story. Everybody was like, and then YouTube made me this person that I am right now. But it really does get this. I think the term YouTuber is confusing. And it's like, no, this is a platform where I'm able to house my creative outlet. Like this is it. I am able to put the kind of content that I want. But even it's like sometimes, you know, I'll be in a lift or something like that and you're like, oh, what do you do? And you're like, oh, I make content. Like YouTube? Sort of. Oh, so like, are you like super viral? What's viral? Like, tell me. Like, would you
viral
know
already
it?
has a negative connotation.
I'm like, yes. Yes, I am. I pop it. Look me up.
I never know what to, because I always think when somebody thinks of viral, they're literally thinking of you like dumping a bucket of water over your head. Or like, they're just, I don't know what they're thinking. And then this is the thing, the internet is so many different worlds. Like, viral for my brother is completely different to like one of my friends. I watch puppy videos all day. Like that's viral to me. Like so, and I'll be like, I saw this bulldog many times, and people will keep sending it to me. Like, and so it's like somebody else doesn't have that. Did you think though when you were starting that like you're like, I'm starting my own lane? Was that the goal? Or was it like this person's career is kind of like this and this person's career is kind of like that and I want to mash up like this? Or just like you're saying, oh, I have a friend that was capable of paying their bills doing this thing that I didn't understand. And so now my thought process is how to be like them. What was the, especially, I'd like to honestly start with Shannon just because, you know, I think before I knew Shannon, I really didn't know people doing like that was like a relationship expert, sex education, would not have known that.
I was the first person to ever do it.
Period.
In history. That's why. No, that's not true.
Shannon introduced me to it, basically.
I think it was like, oh, you guys don't get it. That was my thought. So I was going out on auditions, going to meetings, and people were like, okay, so what? Like, do you have sex toys? Or do you do this? Do you have bubble puppets? Like, people just didn't get it, and they didn't see a space for me. And because when you think of sex educator, you think of Dr. Ruth, or you think of a much older person. So I think people just didn't have any type of zeitgeist for what my content could look like. So I had to show them. I mean, but like a lot of people, I didn't come to YouTube like, this is fun. It was like, I'm sorry. I guess I'll do this. It was like I came to LA off of a work visa. I booked a pilot, didn't get picked up. Booked 3 more pilots. They all didn't get picked up. And at that point, I was like, okay, how about YouTube? A place where the content that I make actually gets seen by more than 7 people who clearly never like me in the end. A place where I get to actually dictate what I say, how I say it. I steer the direction. It's like the perfect business card. So genuinely, it was just out of like, yeah, people don't get it, but that's okay. Like, I'm not going to fault them for that because they've never seen it before.
Okay. So it wasn't necessarily following, like you said, like a Dr. Ruth or something. It was like, I am creating my own lane, essentially.
Yeah.
Okay.
I first discovered your channel, it looked like you were building your YouTube channel in a way that a lot of YouTubers weren't, which is more like a portfolio. It's like you had like a reel of like you kind of doing like TV work and all that stuff, and it felt like distinguishedly like different than like all the other YouTubers that were out there. And so was that intentional when you were starting your YouTube channel? Like, did you see where you are now? Like, did you have that planned out?
Yeah, I'm a very intentional person, as you know. Like, there's very few things, but mind you, again, and that's a benefit of starting a little older, right? I came into everything I did with a purpose. So when you come at 23, there's a totally different. Andrea and I had a blog together, Those Girls Are Wild, which was like not really. It was intentional, but not.
It was intentional for our friendship at the time. It definitely wasn't intentional in our thought process on the content.
I actually think you're one of the few people I know who's not very intentional. I loved you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I love that.
through
Yeah. I saw actually somebody tweeted at you like, oh, I sent you a DM to Tomboyish. Like, that's closed down love. And I'm like, I love that about you. Even listen to your story. Like, I just think that people have this misconception that YouTubers are not intentional. But even the person who's doing the mukbang videos, like, they're really planning that out. And they've thought and they've strategized. And so there's an equal mix of both, and there's beauty in each, I guess, process.
I mean, to add to that, like I have spreadsheets upon spreadsheets and like a lot of data that I pull from my YouTube channel to plan the things that I do. So there's very like an organization, but I'm not afraid to grow through a project. And then if it's not adding to the goals that I've set on the spreadsheet for it, then I'll kill it and I'll move to the next project, because I understand that my time is just so valuable. And with tools like YouTube and Instagram and like, you can make an entire movie on your iPhone. It's just too easy to fall into projects. And so you have to be really clear about like how you're going to put your time in. And I want to do literally everything. So I'm fighting all these different like urges, and I'm just like, look, what is the most impactful way for me to spend my time, given the fact that I've freed up all of my time through the work that I've done in my past. And now that my time's free, it's not a thing to kill a project. Like, it's just, I have to make sure that like what I'm working on is serving me. Like, I'm excited about it when I wake up. It has the capacity to make money, and it's fun to do, it's fun for my audience in the way that they'll continue to promote it. It's kind of like those three things need to be solved. And if a project doesn't fit in that trifecta, then it's okay to kill it.
The conversation of quitting is as important as the conversation of starting.
100%. What I think is just unique in listening to you guys, and I even have this experience of doing so many different paths to kind of get to where you're at. And I know, I started as a child actor, and that's always this really strange world for people, because ending child actorness, I don't know, maybe it hits you at like 20 years old, and you kind of have to go through this whole phase of realizing you're now an adult, and people are going to look at you differently. And what do you actually want to do? Are you going to school? Are you not? Should you fall off? Every child actor feels like they're actually an adult from a really early age. And so it's a really tricky time. But I know when I was a little younger, I really did constantly analyze all the things I like to do and how I could make it into something that made sense. Which is also a part of with Those Girls Are Wild, our blog was kind of like, we liked music and we liked laughing and we liked serious stuff. And so it was just I want to put all of that right here. And funny enough, before this, I don't know if I had told you this, at the time, a manager had said that to me. He was like, all these people know you from Degrassi, but you have all these different ideas, put them in one place, and just be whatever it is in this one place. And that was a part of our blog. But how important is it for you guys in, I think, almost becoming comfortable in the fact that you've started many times? I think when I get a lot of messages from people are almost ashamed of that sometimes, or they don't realize that process, that it's not just this overnight, I had one brilliant idea and just been rocking with it. It's sometimes I started as an actor, and I started as a writer, or I wanted to be a chef, or the fact that you're allowed to start over.
Well, I'm going into a different phase right now. I was I'm a BuzzFeed producer, but I'm actually leaving BuzzFeed in the next week.
Oh, wow.
Congrats. And so, thanks. And so I am transitioning now, and I'm starting all over. And now it's instead of it having me having this big corporation behind me and doing everything for me, I'm about to venture by myself. And as much as you're what am I doing? It's also like a sense of, you were just talking about the freedom of your time is so valuable. And I'm like, I need that. That's what I need. So I feel like, to take it to your question, is just, I don't know if I have like, I don't know if I feel scared or if I'm excited. Or like, I feel like you get a bunch of emotions when you're starting new things or when you're quitting something or anything. It's like you're unlayering yourself and you're taking off every time you quit or every time you start something new, you're taking off a layer and like exploring yourself as a person and how much growth do you have and are you this person that you think you are? I think that's the question that keep like asking myself every day.
Are you?
I think so. Absolutely. I feel like I'm ready for the challenge and I'm gonna bet it all on myself.
What has made you say it's the time?
I think I hit my ceiling there.
Okay.
And I think that's really important for creatives to understand that there's spaces that you're gonna outgrow. And that's okay. It's not saying like you're better or it's kind of like a relationship. It's like a breakup. You know when a relationship has run its course and like it's not doing you anything and it's not fulfilling your purpose. It's well, you should. Well, if you gotta question it, it probably has. But yeah, that's how I feel. I feel like it's run its course and I'm like, it's no longer serving me.
Okay.
And so it's no longer fulfilling me and now I need to go venture out by myself and I need to figure it out by myself.
Okay, tell me though, similar to a breakup, sometimes with a breakup, you know, it doesn't just happen like you wake up the next morning, you're like breaking up with that person. It's like been stewing.
Oh, yes.
And so has it just been a place of this is no longer serving me? Or has it been a place of bigger ideas? And that's what's now making you say I should leave?
Wow, I feel like there wasn't a specific moment.
Okay.
I think I have been going back and forth on this decision for so long. And I think that's like a relationship. You're like, should we break up? Should we not? But I love him, but I don't. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like that. And I feel like
Next
it's
thing
been...
you know, you get like lunch on your
Yeah.
desk. I'll say it.
Yeah. Well, they offered me this. You know, you're like, what? No, you have to trust you have to trust your gut and your intuition is like, it's always right.
Yeah.
I will say 2 weeks ago, I did not sleep one good night. Oh, wow. And I wake up at random, right? If I went to sleep like at 12, at 3 o'clock in the morning, I'll wake up and I'll grab my journal to write something. And it was like, what? That's not who I am, right? I sleep. Yeah. Right? And I didn't understand what was going on and it was the anxiety of, are you making the right decision?
Okay.
And
Had you put in your 2 weeks at that point, or?
I hadn't. And so I was like, are you making the right decision? Are you, like, are you sure? Like, girl, what if you fail? And I feel like I've been here already in LA almost 6 years. Yeah. I came with no fear. I came with like, whatever, we'll see what happens. So why can't I bet on myself again? Yeah. I got in myself at this point. Yeah. I can bet on myself again because clearly I've done it. Yeah. And so it hasn't been like a place, but there has been some things I'm like, see, that's why. Once you already made the decision, you're like, well, that's why. Oh, I can't wait to leave. It's been like that. And that's like, again, drawing it back to relationships. When you get out of one, you're like, that's what I was doing? Yeah. What was I thinking?
Yeah.
But then there's like that month when you break up that you're like, oh.
Yeah. I don't even put it past that I'm not gonna feel that way. Yeah. But I am going to Europe and I'm taking a trip. Okay. And I'm like, well, that's gonna get me away from it. Yes. Yeah. I'm like, that's gonna get me away from whatever
out
thoughts.
of the routine. Because when you're in the same space you used to be, and now you're like, oh, I used to wake up and like be at work by now, and this time I would have done this. And
I'm not even gonna feel that for a month.
Okay, good for you, because I think that is such a hard thing. And what's surprising to me is how many people struggle with that. Just that alone. Just that leaving something that's good, essentially. It's like, it's not bad.
And it's a steady paycheck, so people stay stuck in there. Yeah. I actually last week, 2 weeks ago, when the week I couldn't sleep, I actually had this one guy who I'm cool with and knows that I'm leaving. He was like, Julissa, don't leave. It's stupid. He's like, just stay, do your thing outside, and just keep collecting this check. And I was like, we don't think the same.
Right. Yeah.
And I was like, I can't do that. Yeah. I can't just collect a check and be miserable walking in here every day. My time is money.
Yeah. That kind of brings me to worth. I had this conversation with one of my friends recently that I was actually talking to her about working on a project with me. She's a creative director, and I was like, I want to bring you on. And I straight up told her, I was like, you know, I'm still in the beginning phase, but tell me, for your time, what would be the most ideal price? You know, I'm like, because I'm in the beginning phase. It's not like I got a budget already and I'm just kind of, hey, you mind? I got $2. Like, instead, I'm like, I'm going to go big or go home with this thing. We're going to get the money. And she was like, I need somebody to tell me. And she was like, I legitimately, I couldn't even begin to give you a rate. I have to really think about that. Yeah. And I was like, man, that's such a real thing, getting into that place as an entrepreneur, as a creative, as somebody who understands the work that they're doing and what their goal is, what their mission is. How do you learn your worth? I will always say this, money has always been this, like, I'm strange on it. Yeah. I wish I could be more confident in it. But I'm always kind of like, okay, I hope to get some money. Other way, I mean, Lyft is only $5 to get here, so I guess I'll be okay. Like, I'm so weird, and I find myself, even when I'm asking for it or telling somebody about it, and I've like clocked into it now. When I was a little younger, I really thought it was, you know, me being humble. Now I'm like, maybe we got to go to therapy and just talk about money. And just to be really vulnerable, Julissa and I did a branding thing, and they asked me about other influencers. I suggested Julissa, and we were talking more so on text, but I played it wrong. I should have just called her. But it was about payment. I won't lie. I'm always a little bit uncomfortable when it comes to like I don't know what Shannon's gonna do with them that I'm gonna do. And so I would never say to Shannon, this is how much money I'm making. This is what you should charge. Yeah. It's kind of like, what are you gonna do with these people? Because in reality, you may have a bigger following than me, or you may have a better idea, a different idea.
Oh, I think we have to talk about
that suits what you're doing. Because I, like, at the time, this was like a long partnership too that they were asking for. And so I always know, for me as a filmmaker, I was thinking that way first. So if any brand ever approaches me, I always think from the perspective of how can I put this into my scripted content. Yeah. I'm never thinking from the, can I just talk about this on Instagram? Yeah. That's sometimes what they're asking. So I know that's my pitch. I would never suggest that to any of you guys, though, because you guys do different work. And so I know my own value in that sense of, like, my mind is in storyteller mode. This is what I want to do versus take pictures, girl, and get this check. I'm not thinking like that. So at the time, she was asking me just, you know, what we were charging, but we weren't really talking about the specifics in terms of, like, do you think they're lowballing you? Do you think do you think you could get more? Like, we were, and I was being so, like, Julissa, just charge what you want. Like, and she, from her perspective, she was taking it like I just was really not trying to share. And in reality, it's like I just wasn't expressing myself properly.
Again, this was all through text.
This is through text.
Yeah. So bad.
So we should have called. There was a whole thing. Don't worry, we solved
sharing
it.
the rate.
No.
I was asking, and
what
she
are you
wasn't
charging?
Yeah.
And I get it. And I'm the opposite, right? Because I'm like, tell me, and I'm gonna tell you so that you know.
That's exactly
so that
how
we
I
know
feel.
because we, you know what I mean.
Even
and
if it's a different thing, because these are corporations, and I'm not about that shit. Like, if you're like looking for black and brown and queer people to like represent your work, then you gotta pay for that shit.
Yeah,
right.
You know what I'm saying? So even if it's taking a picture, if it's making a short, let me know what your chart. Let me know like what the tea is, and then we can come back together. Well, I know you're paying like so and so this, and they will screw you over so much.
No,
like so much.
So it was a real learning experience for me in terms of not only suggesting your friends to another company, but also in what is sharing, right? And like, how do you share in a way that does benefit everybody and does make everybody feel really comfortable? And I know, and I, at the time, now that I've analyzed it, I think a lot of it too is almost a little bit of my own insecurities. I know, being an actress, you'll totally do a job where somebody's just making more money than you and doing less work. And that's just the gig. Like, and so if you were to really sometimes overthink about those things, you'll be like, oh, they don't think I'm this, they don't think I'm that. But there's so many
they just want to save money.
There's so many things at play. And so that was my advice to Julissa, was like, I literally don't know what you plan on doing, but do something that's gonna suit you and charge them what you want. That was my advice. And so, but in understanding that, it's like, there's better ways to communicate it, but it also, reality was, we both needed this guidance on what is our worth. What is our worth with this company?
I tried really hard to like especially when I do digital series, because those are independently produced, I try to make sure everyone gets paid. But like the idea is that like I'm not making it like the biggest budget I've done on that I EP'd a project. I think our budget was like $45,000. So like everyone has to get paid, but we don't have a lot of money. And mostly when everyone gets, that means I'm not getting paid.
Everyone gets paid. I don't
get paid. And I'm used to move, especially before I moved out to LA. That's like kind of my world. I'm like, whatever money I get goes back into the project and goes to my crew, because I'm hiring people who aren't normally the people that get to be in front of and behind the camera. So I want to make sure like that you're taken care of. Yeah.
Okay.
Like black people, and women, and like and queer people, and like that's the space I have to take care of us. We don't get to like intern for free. A lot of people get to come out here and then not get paid, and they get to move up because they have a support system that we do not have. And so I try really hard when I do my independent work that I make sure everyone gets paid for it. But I too am also it's very hard for me to speak about or ask for what I need and what I want for myself. It's easy for me to do it for other people.
100%.
But like my background was also in acting and like theater acting. So like you didn't get paid.
So you're not getting any
You're
money.
not getting any money anyway.
Okay,
It'd be like $200 for like a 4-month run or something. Oh
Oh no, theater makes zilch on money.
No money.
Zilch.
I was aware of that, and I think I still have the residue of it on me, even though I get paid so much more than now that I'm out here doing like the work that I do. But there's still like a balance of like, I'll go to a rap party and I'll ask a white male director what he, like what even not like pay, but like what was his setups for like doing work in a different city. And like I found out that like we were working on the same gig. He did an earlier episode than I did for the same production company, and they gave him an apartment, and they had me in like a tiny like 1-bed hotel room for like 3.5 weeks. And like the fury that I felt, and he was just like, oh yeah, they always put me in an apartment. And I was like, I didn't even know to ask. I didn't even know it was an option. They don't tell you. There's no
and
like.
That's the thing.
No one holds
tells
your
you.
hand through that. Like none of your reps, none of them. Like if you don't ask, they're not going to tell you. And so that to me was a real learning moment. I was like, I will never like. I have a writer now. Like these things have to get met because I know that I'm good at what I do.
Yeah.
Like even if I'm like at my most insecure, I actually know that I'm a great director. I'm good on set. I bring good energy, and it looks good for you to hire me because I'm young, talented, and black.
Hey,
like that's what it looks like, and so therefore I should get paid for that.
Yeah.
And I have no qualms telling like big production companies that need to pay me. No qualms whatsoever because they have so much money. Like a lot of times they're spending money off like their lunch budget is like what I made in a year before I moved out here. So like, you know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to be nice.
And was it just that, like realizing, like having a conversation with another director who's a man and he's white and realizing, oh, he's able to ask, why can't I?
Yeah.
Was it that changed the for
it was that. It was like, I was like out drinking and him saying that, and I was like, I had such a horrible time on that show. And I was like, and then that's what happened, and then you had such a like smooth, because your living experience was okay. Yeah, it was okay for you to be on set all hours of the night because you were able to like be in a bed and you had a kitchen and all this stuff. Like they thought about that for you. They didn't think about that for me. And I think specifically when people look at us, they just think that there's like this idea that like black women are indestructible and we can handle and do everything and da-da-da. And I'm like, I'm not with that. I think it's a horrible narrative. And like I want to make sure that I am paid for the work that I do and the energy that I bring to sets, because I think it's unique and we're all unique and we bring something unique to the table, and our salaries and our compensation should reflect that.
I think that's an interesting thing that you said though, like that the guy had such a smooth experience and you're there like, I had a terrible experience. Yeah. I've had that. Yeah. Like doing a project and realizing I didn't enjoy it because I didn't ask, I didn't speak up for myself. Yeah. I didn't protect myself. Yeah. And nobody else is doing that for me. Yeah. And so, yeah, like somebody else is there like, this was peachy. And I'm there like, are you kidding? It was horrible. I haven't ate. Like, you know, so, and that, those kind of negative moments, I actually think are blessings in our life. Yeah. Because
you'll never do it again.
You'll never do it again.
And I appreciate this like straight white man telling me that, because of what we do need, those conversations need to happen so that you know that you're not crazy. Like I felt crazy, but I was like, well, maybe this is how they do all the directors. I'm new here. Like I don't know. I didn't know. And then I was like, oh wait, absolutely not. That's not what they do. And you knew something in like your gut that it wasn't right, but I wasn't confident enough to ask for it. Yeah. But now I'm like, I pay people 10%, 5%. Somebody gotta get on the phone. Oh. Somebody gotta figure it out. Yeah. You know.
Shannon, can you talk about your experience with that?
It's a big. I mean, I'm listening to this. I'm kind of like, this is such a speaking moment to like sell your strengths and by your weaknesses. So if you're not good at money, you need to have somebody on your team who's doing that for you. My manager is ridiculous. Like we got this job for $18,000 and I was like, oh, okay, whatever. I never like heard about it again. And like months later, I'm like, what happened to that job? And then I was like out of something. And he was like, oh, like I asked him for a higher rate and then they didn't meet me back. And I was like, oh, what'd you ask for? He's like, 100,000. I was like, how did you get 18,000 to 100,000? But like, that's the energy he brings. I would never bring that. I would never. I know what my strength is. I provide value. And I over provide value. Like I remember once I was on this set and it was in New York and the flight was delayed. But my guilt, because the flight was delayed and I was coming late, was so strong that I was like hair and makeup done in the car. Arrived on set, I sprinted in. Like I came in, I was like helping craft. I just felt so guilty. But I'm like, that is my thing is like, I will go and give 1,000%. So I deserve whatever money he's gonna ask, but I know I would never ask for that money. So I just think that if it's not your strength, get somebody on your team who's really good at that and learn from that person. And I definitely learned and picked up tips along the way, but 100%, I don't think that should be our responsibility as creatives, unless that's a passion project of yours. Because I've seen both sides. Because there are some people who it's like, oh, you don't know what the going rate is. Like you have to research.
And it's not easy to find that out for entrepreneurs and for, it's not there.
But I've heard people who overcharge. Like I was looking for a graphic designer.
I've heard overcharge.
And a lot of people have this crazy price. I look at their work and I'm like, okay, like know that I'm talking to a lot of people. I know what the rate is. And so you're just not showing me that you know what the market is doing right now. So it's not just a matter of being like entitled or asking for a lot. It's knowing what you reasonably should ask for.
No, I had a makeup artist do that to me when I was putting together a production. And she gave me this rate, and I was like, "Oh wow, that's insane! You probably only work for HBO, so I actually can't hire you."
And that's okay. I'll never fault anyone if I like reach out to them for an indie thing and their rate is above what I can pay. I'm like, look, do you like you gotta do you, and I'm not, but I can't pay for that.
Oh
so,
no!
Like, and I'll let you know.
The crazy thing with her is she was just kind of throwing a price
just
out there.
to see.
Because then I was like, sorry, hopefully in the future we can work together. And then she came back to me with like, well, what can you afford? I was like, girl. Girl.
But good for you. I also like that.
But I think it's very telling because I also think it made her look to me like you don't actually know what's going on.
But she should never do that herself. It's also not a good. It's not comfortable to talk about money.
It's really not.
So that's why even if you if you don't have a manager, make up a fake Gmail. Those are free. And have Sally or Suzanne do the negotiations for you.
Absolutely.
It becomes more powerful.
Everyone says that, but sometimes I like them knowing that I'm.
You're the person talking.
So because I'm fully independent, but I have a lawyer and I have like a book agent and I have a like theatrical manager. But for the most part, everything that I do.
Fully independent and list 5 reps.
But no, but you know what? I actually get that. I get that.
In that, like, all of those people are like, if
They're working for you.
They're working for you.
If I wake up on a Tuesday and like, oh, okay, I'm down to work, then I'll hit them up. It's like, what's up? What's available? But it's all based on like what I want to do. So when anybody sends me anything, I'll like, do I feel like taking that photo? I mean, I could do it tomorrow. All right, 4K. You know, and then I like them knowing that they're talking to me directly because I am the ship. I am the one that's leading this whole thing. There's no managers. I mean, there are, but they're literally people who are just bringing the added thing that I can't do on my own, which is like I can't send myself on auditions by myself because I don't even understand that world. But I know that I think that I'm all over the place, but there are a couple things that I wanted to say listening to everybody. The first is similar to Shannon. I know that I have perspective. I have a point of view that is so unique online that like I understand that my worth is literally wrapped up into that. I'm great on camera. I'm great behind the camera. I have a point of view.
You look good. You smell good.
I try my best. I moisturize for this. You know, like I was here on like I am similar. Like I arrive on time. I know what I provide when I'm on set. I know what I provide when I'm developing something for a brand. I know what my worth is, and it is useful that I do have a team with my lawyer who can kind of come in and just like reiterate it. Like if I'm connecting with a brand that I think wants like a little bit more than, you know, just kind of like a deal that's less than like 10K, I don't really have like a strict number on this, but if it feels like it's an ongoing relationship that will require a lawyer, then I'll bring in my lawyer to handle those things. And then, you know, she'll ask for like hundreds of thousands of dollars. And I'll be like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's why she.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. But it's nice to know that there's somebody behind me, even though I can do this on my own, but there's someone behind me that will be able to like
That's what I'm going to argue and
that.
say the person who's repping you can always ask for a little bit more.
Yeah.
Even though it's good to be you, but like you're still going to say a comfortable number. I actually love you. I put this tweet out where you were like, I recognize that if you're a platform that only has majority white and you're trying to tokenize me,
The inclusion
like
tax.
The inclusion tax.
So the inclusion tax is something that I was talking to my friends about because I always get I model as well and I do influencer work, and because of that there are a lot of brands that are really nervous about having like people of color and queer people and trans people and non-binary people involved in their campaigns. I get it, sis. You need to make it look a little bit more colorful. I'm aware of your needs. If you come into my inbox and you want to hire me, understand that I recognize the value of you now suddenly wanting to be inclusive and now having access to markets of you're having access to queer audiences, you have access to people of color audiences that the other white people that you're hiring for this campaign are not going to give you. I'm literally giving you access to a new market. There's dollars that you can actually correlate this to. So I want my inclusion tax. So you have to pay me an additional fee on top of the other people who are not POC or non-queer or non-binary because I'm providing an additional value.
That just happened to me. The same thing just happened to me, and my manager was like, she's the only person of color, and she's what are we doing? That person that's making the most, it was 5 of us. 3 were making, me and 3 others were making the same, and 1 male was making $4,000 more. And he said, absolutely not. She's the only woman of color on there. She needs to make what he's making. And they did. They came back with it.
And we have to do that.
Yeah. But in order to do that, there needs to be more just like clarity around like what people are being paid. And so before I did any of this, and before I had like my little like team that I'm putting together, I just talked to all of the other YouTubers and influencers that I know and producers and directors whenever I'm putting a rate together, because there's just no transparency about what people are being paid. And I hate that feeling, similar to what you had, where it's like, dude, I'm doing a lot of work and I'm getting a percentage of what everyone else is involved in this. Like if I'm doing all the work, but like your team is getting like 50% what I'm getting, then I'm going to be upset and I'm going to feel undervalued and I'm going to take that energy into my next project, and I don't want to do that. And also, I didn't have to get up this morning. So like you have to recognize that like for me to get out of my house, you're going to pay me what I like desire, or I'm just not going to show up. And that's okay. That's okay.
I have, I guess, 2 thoughts on listening to everybody. Just thinking about the person who is not so privileged to be in everybody's position. This worth and this confidence that you guys all have, at what point in your growth did it come that you started to understand this about yourself? Because, you know, there's small influencers and large ones. And in my experience, it almost feels like you never feel large enough. Like, I don't know what the largest person is. Like, you're always like, I don't know what small is. Like, you know what I mean? Exactly. Like, where you're like, and then also, how did the team building start? Like, how did you get a manager? How did you get a lawyer? At what point in your own, I guess, pursuit did you even say, I need this? Did these people approach you? What was that like?
I'm going to add something real quick to shout out Shannon, because often when I'm thinking about how I'm like working and building my business, I'm like, what would Shannon do? Like I think a lot about the way that you structure deals and you structure like partnerships that are ongoing and your team as well. And so
we have the same lawyer.
Yeah, we have the same lawyer now. It's just like,
you guys have the same manager, right?
Oh, yeah, we have the same. Yeah. So I
make friends, steal their team.
I'm just literally grabbing from all of you. I'm grabbing you. So we gotta talk.
Yeah, right.
Okay, there's about to be a lot of money made. Be aware of that. But I would look at like my peers and just kind of seeing like, okay, what are you guys doing? Like, what are some influencers or people who are working right now, actors and producers and directors that are like living the lives that I want to live? And then what do their teams look like? I go on like IMDb Pro and like check those out. And just from there, just start having meetings. I know that I always wanted I wanted a team of POC and or queer and or trans people. I knew that was something I really needed. And in fact, I fired my original manager or my original team just because I felt like, you know, they didn't have, like I needed hunger. Like I needed more hunger in my team because I knew I was hungry as fuck.
Yeah.
And so like I think that that's the hardest thing is finding people who believe in you enough, who are hungry enough, and who are like, no, we're gonna get this money together. Like let's go. That's so hard to find.
And I guess just something small that really does help. Like I met Ari through Whitney through Natural 85. And it was her that reached out to me and just was like, there's this girl, she's so sweet, she's so amazing. You have to meet her. She wants to be an actor. And you're like, oh, okay. And this is the thing is, it's like, I love Natural. I trust her. She's one of those people that is just like, one of those influencers that I've met that you're like, she's such a genuine person. She doesn't care. She's not like, you know, big-headed or anything like that. So it's easy to want to help in those ways, right? Like it's really natural. And so when I met you and hearing your story, that's what was like, oh, well, you might like this person. And that kind of connection is so vital, like in this entire process.
Whitney and I were at a party, and I didn't
she
tell
told me she was
anyone.
sending it from the party.
Yeah, we were literally upstairs at the bar before I was going to go downstairs and
This is
sweat
for
it
YouTube.
out. Oh, we're YouTube Black.
In DC or?
Yeah.
It was
Last one.
It was beautiful because she just sent the message right then and there, and then I met with you, and then I met one person that you introduced me to, and they sent me on all of the biggest auditions that like Hollywood had to have. So like that just happened because I was drunk at a party, sent a DM, had one cup of coffee, introduced me to one person who I had one cup of coffee with. Next thing I know, I'm like literally living the acting life that I wanted to live.
Yeah.
So like that was so crazy, and I'm so thankful for you for doing that.
Oh,
so
girl.
thank you.
Girl, it ain't it?
I think the through line for someone listening is like the two things that everybody here is well prepared for every opportunity they've gotten. These are people with exceptional credentials who didn't just come in expecting and never did. Like from the beginning we have worked. Like preparation. People ask me, how do you get confident? It's like you gotta be good at anything. You gotta practice, put the values in, seek out mentors. And then once you do that, start surrounding yourself with like minds. And you just got to keep doing that process though over and over again.
Plus one, plus one, plus one, plus
Yes.
one on that. That's such a big deal. Having the people, look how you all said, oh, we share the same lawyer. Oh, we share the same manager. Some people are so quick to close the door behind them when someone opens it for them.
Yeah.
And to me, that's the biggest thing. Leave that door open for that person to leave that door open because it's just a never-ending thing, and that's how you meet people. That's how you're in the same circles. Who knows what could come out of this? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that for a lot of people, I heard Issa Rae say this once in an interview where she said, so many people want to network and they want to network up.
Yeah.
And it's like, we're on the same, what do you mean? Why can't we all use each other right
network
now
across.
to network amongst each other, create who knows how much things, and then we all go up.
Yeah. Networking, mentorship too. Like that's kind of a rolled in ball for me because I have met endless people who don't know me. I don't know them. And they want to do what you're doing. But really, they want to jump into your skin and just like live your life essentially. Right. And so they just kind of naturally ask you like, can you mentor me? How can I be like, can you hire me? What can you, and you're like, I literally don't know you. I don't know what you do. I don't know who you are. I don't know why I should work with you. They're not coming to the table with anything. Right. And I think that that's a skill set that's kind of learned while pursuing this. That, you can see all kinds of people that you want to work with. But there's a way to kind of climb that ladder and get to them versus just a straight up DM like, hey, I love you. How can I? And I always feel so bad kind of telling people straight up, like, that's probably the worst way to get a mentorship. Any of the mentors that I've ever had, it was like a really natural relationship. It started off as just somebody who just likes you, honestly, who just gives you advice. Next thing you know, they give you advice all year. And now they're your mentor, essentially, right? Like, and they're legitimately helping you. And they understand your mission. They're not always doing the same work as you. None of my mentors actually do the same thing as me. But they are in positions of power where they can help me. And they understand something about the business that I don't understand. And that has been my best mentors is people like that. And I can build my own fake mentorships by watching filmmakers, right? Like by watching the work of people and really analyzing it, really asking questions and being a stalker on the internet, like reading all the articles. That to me is fake mentorship, right? But it's real. So what would you guys say is kind of a do and a don't of getting a mentor? And then do you guys all have mentors? And how did they come about in your life?
I feel like That's a difficult question because like I really believe in mentorship, and I think especially in this industry where there's not that many paths, we don't have a lot of those natural paths. Like as much as I can, I do bring like young Black women on set with me if they hit me up in my DM. Like if I like their work or if I know something of them, I will do it.
Their work though, right?
Yeah, like their work,
Yeah.
or if there's something, if you just called me on a good day and I can, like I will. I try to do that because I remember asking for help from people, and then my directing career took off really quickly.
Yeah.
And people were then, those people that I was asking for were asking, I was like, oh, but y'all weren't answering me back then. So I was like, no, so I really do try as much as possible, but it's difficult, right? Because I can't answer everyone who comes in through there. But like if someone vouches for you or something like that, like if there's an easier way, then it's not just like completely, I don't know you, if there's some reason, like then I will try my best to like make that happen.
Oh yeah, I've had people like that too, where they send you stuff all the time.
Yeah.
Not asking me for anything.
Yeah.
Just kind of letting me know the work that they're doing. Maybe something I did inspired this work.
Yeah.
Maybe this is a conversation that's similar to something I'm doing or something they think I would appreciate, period.
Yeah.
Or just kind of letting you know, this is my resume. If you're filming in this city, this is what I got.
Yeah, and I like to know that because I want more of us on set.
Legitimately.
Like I want more
and
of that.
So I will always help those people as much
Yeah.
as possible. But I'm talking about, I have had people who do not even send me
yeah.
a link.
Yeah, and it's just weird.
tell me they got a passion.
But sometimes they have, like, if they have questions, like, I also am, like, a extroverted introvert, so I'm not... I'm
Ambivert.
Huh?
Ambivert.
What?
Ambivert.
An ambivert?
Yeah.
We didn't talk about that. I don't know
That's
what
what-
that is.
yeah,
I've never
extrovert,
heard that.
introvert. Yeah.
But like, so I don't like, I'm not good at networking. I don't like to do all that stuff. But if there is like, if you have a question, a lot of people will ask me like, well, these long DMs, and they're like, I feel like this, and it's really hard, and I want to come out to LA, and I'm like, look, Queen, I know it is hard, and I don't really have anything to give you either, but other than be like, it is gonna be difficult and find your people and find your group, and then you'll. I really do believe that if you do work laterally and you find, everyone's not a collaborator, but like if you find the people that you jive with, like you guys can like, you know, rise together. And that's normally like what I tell people if you caught me on a good day and I'm checking my DMs.
I was going to say, because Shannon, you brought up a point before that about you think something different with the networking laterally, right? Like, do you think that you actually need to be building up or the ladder effect kind of thing?
I'm a big fan of shoot your shot, so I don't think there's anything wrong with shooting high and aiming. Just know that like you're probably not going to get it in. That's okay though. Like I am a mentor to Winnie Harlow, which is like one of the greatest joys of my life, to be honest. And she said something to me that's so profound once, because she's really worked hard in her career. And so at a certain point, she had like hundreds of thousands of followers, just came off of a show and could not get a modeling agency. And knocked on every door. She had national press, just nobody would take her. And I was getting all angry for her. Like, you know, there's this, they're that, they're racist, they're this, or they don't understand you. And then she was like, I am a train. I know where I'm going. And she's like, not everyone's going to want to get on at this stop. Yeah. That's okay. I'm going to keep going. They may want to get on at the next stop. And that's okay with me. And like that sense of purpose and peace, if I feel that through somebody, I think I'm more inclined to help. If it's like, I actually had someone approach me once and was like, yeah, like I reached out to you, I sent this really personal email about my aspiration to be you didn't respond, and it really discouraged me like for a long time. I felt like I couldn't do it. And I was like, maybe if a non-response is enough, because you got to have that trained mentality. And if you have that, yeah, shoot high, shoot low, shoot everywhere, do as much as you possibly can, but at the same time, be about your ish, be about getting better at your craft, know where you want to go, and then people will join and may or may not join.
Yeah, no. You guys, with your experience with mentorship and networking?
I don't have a mentor.
Okay.
I would gladly want one. I don't have one. And I have been reached out from people wanting for me to mentor. And I'm like, listen, I'm still trying to get my stuff in order. I cannot mentor you.
But also as content creators, we give out free content,
right,
free advice.
Right. Yeah. Pick up on that.
Yeah.
And I tweet stuff and I have my Insta stories. Like, check that out. I think that's a sort of mentorship.
Oh, 100%.
I'm just not directing it solely to you, but this is take what you will from it. Yeah. But I can't mentor right now because I'm still trying to I'm trying to make sure that I have everything in order before I can offer you any advice. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And it also takes a lot, like to have a good mentor. And I have women in my life who are either on my level or like a little bit above, who have like like put my name in for a gig or like check me out for that, or if I have a question I can hit them up, and that's like amazing. And sometimes that's like all I need is like just that, like another person in this industry that says like you're not crazy. But like I think you're right to a certain extent. Yeah, you're not crazy. But I think you're right. Like there is, it takes a lot of energy out, and when you're trying to like keep that energy so that you don't get burnt out, it is. I have to know what your expectations are as a mentee. Like if you are expecting me to read everything that you have, like I can't do that right now. But what I can do is maybe like if I see something that I think fits for you, I can send it your way or something like that. Like I can do those things.
Well, I can say you're fantastic. Like everything that you've mentioned so far, I'm like, hit her up. Like you're bringing people on set. Like
too much. No, but I think you guys also have bigger followings than I do. So like that's
well, I got a lot more people. But following is because it's like I think with a big following, but I would say this, I have had fans, followers that have been with me for so long. I feel like I legitimately know them. Like I will hit them up. Like, haven't seen you post, so are you safe? Like, you know what I mean? Because they have supported you so deeply that you're like, this is, so that's why following is so strange. But what you're doing, I think, is very valuable. And I 100% know that life because I've had the filmmaker people like that want to work, right? And you know what that is, and you know that pursuit, so you will always try and give them an opportunity in any way that you can. But
you can also get burnt that way. I've had that happen where I like introduced someone to my manager and then they like got signed and they were trash. And I was like,
you have to know.
Now I'm like a little like shy about doing that. Like I won't do that again as quickly, but I was like when I first got out here, and
stay up. Like I just genuinely like I keep my circle really small. A couple things that came up, and I'm hoping I can address all of them. The first is I don't have a mentor. Similar, like I don't have a mentor. I found the idea of being mentored really interesting and really valuable, but like I kept pivoting my career path so much to where like I didn't find anybody that would make sense in like the industry I was going after. That said, as a mentor, I put a lot of content online and I'm very open and I share a lot online to where it's like, I'm giving you so much of myself for free that like, all you have to do is just Google me, like literally just do that work. One of the reasons why I was able to move to LA though, is because I use a service called Patreon. Are you all familiar with that? All right, so Patreon. Yeah. So Patreon is basically a platform where if you're creating things, you can allow your audience to pay you to create those things. So I've been on Patreon for like 2 years, and every month I get I get enough to pay my rent from people like around. It's been consistently between like 100 to 200 people that have like paid my rent for me to continue to be on YouTube, for me to continue to be an influencer on Instagram. And when I wasn't getting like certain sponsorships or whatever, my patrons would come in and they would take care of me. And that's what's allowed me to have like this like fuck you on my face. Sorry. It's allowed me to have a lot more energy going into Hollywood because I know that I have like this pool of people that are supporting me and want me to continue to make content regardless of what brands or what agencies or what managers believe in me. Like I have a strong audience of people who believe in me. And from that, from my patrons that I've had, for 2 to 3 years now, I've built strong relationships with all of them. And they're like to the point where like someone's come to my house to help me like set up furniture. So I have some of them have gotten together and done their own vacation. Like just my patrons, they like organize their own trip to go and hang out by themselves. I did a surprise pop-in and they were like, oh my God. But it was like literally about them. But like I wouldn't say I'm their mentor at all because a lot of them are like older than me, but like I've built a community of people that support my work on the level that they pay for it. Like there's value, like real value attached to it. And they've allowed me to be a free agent moving into Hollywood, moving into influencer or whatever, to where like I don't have to sell out for any check because they already have me. So it's a really beautiful relationship. It's the reason why like I'll never look down on anyone that's using Patreon or using kind of like crowdfunding to kind of get their work done, because there's a little less self that you give when you have to like sell it for like the project, I get to be myself completely because there's like 100 to 200 people who really want me to be my full self. And so it's sick. It's really sick.
No, I've never heard that. So I know about Patreon, but I've never heard it like this. So I think that's actually really unique, and honestly, I commend you because I think it's also very vulnerable. Right. I have done 2 crowdfunding campaigns. Luckily, I was successful, but I hated it. I could not stand the experience. No one believes in the project as much as me. I'm the only one doing all the work. Like, and it's hard. It's not easy at all. But it's an experience you have to have. So and then, you know, I've done like a 10K and had to raise money, and like asking even for that is like, so I'm gonna run. And so it is hard to kind of put yourself out there and say, hey, you like this content? Like, pay for it on a regular basis. So I actually really commend you on that.
It's super tough. And a lot of my friends have tried and given up on it and like just like decided that Patreon wasn't their thing. But like, I think all people want to see is that like they're involved in your growth. And that's all they want. Like, it's like I support people on Patreon too. And it's just cause like, dude, you don't have to give me anything. I'm just here. Tell me where to show. What do you need? Like, I just want, cause I need your stories out there in the world. And I know that I have a story to tell. And I know that I have a unique perspective and I have a unique point of view that is valuable. There's value attached to it that like, for me to ask for money, I'm not asking because it's just like, oh, I just got to pay my rent this month. It's just like, yo, I'm trying to like, y'all keep saying you want these stories out here, right? I'm down to do it, but I need your help to get there. Y'all want to help me out? We could talk about what I'm thinking about, and you can have like the added value for you is you get to participate in me creating these things, and I get to come to you and say like, hey, this is what I'm thinking about making this month. Did you like that idea? Should it be yellow or should it be purple? They're like, oh, yellow. And that's like the value is then when they see that thing out there, they're like, damn, it was all of us together that made that thing happen. Yeah, Ari's name is attached to it, but we were there. And that's value. Like that's real value that you get to provide to people who are, you know, they're in Iowa and they want to be like you. And they see your story and they're like, shit, like I just want to be able to live that life. I can't right now, but let me be a part of Ari's journey and see how she's doing it. And based on that, when I'm ready, I'll be inspired enough to kind of like hop in, and I have access to you. Because one of my Patreon things, this is not a plug now, oh my God. But one of my Patreon things, right? Support me on Patreon. Hey,
I see where this went. You are smart, young lady. You are smart.
Trying to get, you know, these bills are trying to get paid. But like one of the things that I do is I give everyone a unique email that they can reach me. And I respond sometimes within like a month. Like it takes a little bit, and they know that I'm busy, but like they have that direct access to where they can ask me those questions. And in doing that, they feel like they have like added value.
And that's a specific type of mentorship. And I think finding out like how you want to mentor, whatever works for you, the way you do it. If you want to do coffee or you just want to like put it on your platform, like whatever works. But I do think that it's like super important, especially for us, to figure out how we can be open to bringing more creators on. Because like you said, like moving laterally, like there's no part of me that wants to be the only one in the position that I'm in. I want to, like, I'm really excited by what's happening from like younger creators, and I want to continue like giving them an avenue to, or not an avenue because I don't have a platform, but like giving them just like the confidence, like, yeah, it's hard and like, but we did it, and so you can do it too.
Do you mind if we go to your question?
No worries. So piggyback off of everything you guys said, just thinking of where you are now, you know, however you may feel about that, and looking to how people look at you and, you know, they feel inspired by you and they look to you for guidance. How did you coming up into your position to where you are now, like how did you deal with the comparison game and looking to women who were in your lane or were in a lane similar to where you are now and thinking, wow, like she's doing something along the lines of what I want to do. How can I better myself to, you know, get to where I see myself going?
Comparison game, dude.
Shannon, you want to
I'll start with an unpopular opinion. I really enjoy comparison. It's become an important part of my career. It's also a humbling thing for me. I had two opportunities that were really big deals for me, like game-changing opportunities, and both times there was another sexual educator, another intimacy educator whose name was on the script. Meaning it's very clear they asked that person first, they had that person in mind, that person didn't say yes or didn't accept the rate, and as a result it got to me and no one changed the name of the script, right? And at first that kind of hurts a bit, but then you're like, they're a little bit ahead, that's okay. You know, there's a lot of times that there are people who I'm like, yeah, they've structured their business better, they've done this better. And so sometimes it feels a little not so great to feel like you're shrinking in someone's shadow. And other times it's an opportunity for you to rise up and see a blueprint and have a muse for yourself. So I embrace comparison on all ends. I also check myself constantly when I have gross comparisons. Like if I'm competing against my friends or if I'm competing against someone else, or like A friend of mine actually recently went up for a job that I was like in the early talks for. Like I was one of the earlier people they were speaking to, and then she was like, "Oh, I'm going to this and that," and I was about to text my agent like, "What happened to this job?" And I was like, "Stop." So you have to do that work in yourself, and so I just think you can't avoid comparison. I hear people say all the time, like, "I don't compare. Comparison is the thief of joy," and I'm like, there's that aspect to it too, but just don't undermine the value in it as well.
Yeah, I like comparison. I think that's okay. So long as you feel like I'm comparing and not competing. Two totally separate things. We can look the same. We can have the same. I always think of like, if we both go in and we're both going to audition and we both were like, hey, you're going in for audition and let's go ahead and like go over these lines and let's do this. And we do that. Either way, even if I tell you the secrets that I'm gonna do, even if I'm like, well, I look at it like this and all of that stuff, and when we go in that room, you're not gonna do the same thing as me, no matter what, because I am me and you are you. Yeah. So the minute you sit there and start thinking, oh, wait, what if she, or what if this, I feel like you lost, period. Yeah. You lost. So I don't mind comparing because I'm just like, for me, it's just step your shit up. Yeah. If it's that, I'm always gonna compare higher. I'm always gonna do that, and I like it. Yes. I compare higher. I'm like, why is she doing that, and what's going on? And it's not the why of why her now and not why me. It's just why. Yeah. It's just period. Why? So that I know, and so that I can put myself in and see that and give myself something to aspire to. Yeah. I look at it like that.
Yeah, I want to actually piggyback off of you guys. I feel I treat it the same way. I'm like a research queen. I love to deep dive on the why. Like, especially if somebody's doing work that you like, that you appreciate, right? It's like, because that's ultimately it. It's like, wow, okay. Like, and then I start to peel back. Like, how did they get here? Who is the person? Who is the connect? What is the storytelling? What's the uniqueness of this story? Like, am I doing that for myself? Like, that's oftentimes, especially as a filmmaker, as a creative, it's like, are they being more vulnerable? Like, are they doing something that I really am not doing? Yeah. Like, I am not giving 100%, or I'm being too safe. Like, that's oftentimes how I treat it. And then, I check myself on the stupid comparison. Like, how come my hair's not as long? Like, that stuff serves you zero. But if somebody's got like just fantastic pictures and you're like, me too, I'd like to have this. And like, I literally look through their comments to see, like, did they list this camera? Yeah. Did they, at any point, did somebody say, what is this shot with? And they were like, it's this, like, you know what I mean? Yeah. Because I think comparison can help you to better yourself in a strange way.
Well, like it's the mark of human innovation, right? Like the reason why we're in a place, our phones are newer, it is that sense of comparison. So I think social media has given it like a bad rep and made people feel very uncomfortable with the concept of it. It's just you have to channel it. It's a responsibility. It truly is. It's a full-time job.
To compare. Well, honestly, but you know what I would say probably is the unique part of this conversation is I think when somebody thinks of comparison, they think about it from like the self-esteem point of view and think about it like you said, like this really negative, and all of like you guys especially starting talking about it, it's from the perspective of an entrepreneur. It's from the perspective of how can I better myself in my business. And that's just a change in your thought process when you start to really pursue your goals and your dreams. It's like you start to really think of yourself like I'm a little entity going, and it's no longer about, oh, well, how come she got this opportunity and I didn't get this opportunity? It's like, it is a train, right? Like, it is like, we're going. Yeah. So, okay, maybe she's ahead of me. I am totally okay with doing that. Like, she is ahead of me. She's done a little bit more. She started at a different point. I'm always aware of that.
But she got lucky.
Yeah, right? Like, it's all of that kind of stuff, but it really does help.
I compare a lot, like, and I'm just on Instagram often, so I'm just like, oh, damn, your makeup's fire. And also, Alyssa Ashley's, like, photography game, though, should be so clear.
It's incredible.
Oh, my God, I can see my future looking at her pores. Really? It's crazy. So, of course, I look at that, I was like, man, what the fuck is my camera doing right now? Yeah. But, like, at the end of the day, when I'm looking at everyone, I'm aware that, like, my path is so uniquely mine that like I'm literally just kind of borrow like, ooh, I kind of like the way that she does like the fashion week stuff. I'll do that when I'm on fashion week. But as an actor, I like their path a lot, and ooh, who's their manager? So it's just like I'm aware that we're all on these unique paths, and if someone gets something, it's because it just makes sense for their path. And like mine is, I'm a storyteller that dabbles in comic books, that also walked Fashion Week. Like, it's just like, there's no path that it really is out there for me. And that's beautiful because it's for me to create for me.
Yeah.
And so I think that that's like, it's good that we're all out here just killing the game. There's so many like black and brown and queer and trans people out here like getting huge campaigns and getting huge projects and getting regulars on series and all this stuff.
Yeah.
That's dope for them. How are they doing it? How can I add that to my journey? Because I'm still gonna be on my path, on my train. I guess we're using that metaphor for this.
No, but I like that.
But I mean, I think this is like, we really do all have our own path, and like, the moment you're trying to like figure out how to like finesse your path to mirror somebody else's is you're ignoring all the value that your own personal path had to give to you. So,
I love that.
yeah.
So the theme in general with what GoDaddy was doing is just make the world you want. Why I chose all of you guys is because that's what I see in you. I see you guys uniquely creating a lane for yourselves, and in hearing everything that you guys have said, like, you have legitimately confirmed that for me, and I just want to commend you. And it's so beautiful to hear these stories and for you guys to be so vulnerable. But if you were to give just kind of one piece of advice to someone who does want to follow in your path, something that you think would have helped you at the beginning of your own careers or your start, what would that thing be? For myself, starting as a kid actress, just television actress in general, and then kind of transitioning into making my own content. When I was much younger, people made you really feel like you had to do one box. Like, you really had to choose one thing. And you were looked down upon for switching. Like, oh, you want to do music now? But I thought you were an actor. Oh, now, but you want to do what? And when I went to my agents and said, we have all this stuff on YouTube, it was like, what is YouTube? What are you talking about? What will this do for you? And I held that, like, for a very long time. Felt very ashamed of the change and the this and the that. And so if I could genuinely give anybody that advice, it would be like, these gifts are here for a reason. Like, they are uniquely yours. And so there's absolutely nothing wrong with just figuring out that you are simply a storyteller. And you can tell that story in any medium at any time. You grow. Like, we do not act, like, 10-year challenge just came out. You're not that person. You are literally not that person. And imagine if the rules were that you had to remain that person. You'd be like,
Wow.
my hair was not good. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and
good.
so if anything, I would try my best to kind of relieve the stress from somebody thinking, especially if they came from my background of being a child actor and then transitioning into adulthood, that you are allowed to change your path, that nothing is wrong. You can still remain in this entertainment industry doing multiple things.
I think I would tell someone or myself to not conform to what they want. I think starting off and coming here, everyone was like, I met with so many agents and everyone was like, but this accent, can you change it? And I looked for speech, like, teachers and all of these things when I first got here. And I was like, I gotta change this dialect or whatever's going on. I can't sound so Spanish. I can't do this. This is not right. And that very thing was what made me now who I am, which is crazy in hindsight. I was like, well, thank God I didn't go through with it. And thank God I didn't get book those gigs to change my accent or to make it neutral, because that allowed me to open up this whole new world for little girls to now DM me and say, I love you. I love how you speak. You're making me feel like I could be confident being this Colombian or this Dominican or this Puerto Rican or this Afro-Latina. I could be this. And now we're the wave. Now we're like, ooh, what is that? That's the new thing. So I would say that. Don't conform. Be you, accept it, and give a middle finger to whoever doesn't like it. Straight up.
Hey now. Spicy.
I think that the thing that always got in my way is, like, I have like this brutal sense of urgency. It's like, I want it now. Why don't I have it now? Everyone has it right now. And I feel like the moment I was just like, all right, dude, this stuff is just gonna take some time. It's gonna just take some time, and you have to survive the time that it takes, and you have to enjoy the journey. Because if you do, by the time you actually get to where you wanna go, it's not, you're gonna resent it almost. Like, I did all that for this, you know? So now I just like look, and it sounds really light and airy and all that stuff and very hippie-like. But I'm just like, what is what is going to challenge me and what is gonna have fun. I don't care how long it takes for me to get to the destination now. I used to care a lot. I used to care a lot about just getting to that point. Fuck the point. I don't care. Am I having fun right now? Am I deciding what I want to do? Am I challenging myself? Am I getting better as a person? Do I like the people around me? Are they hungry as well? Yeah? Cool. Keep going. And that's it.
Amazing. I mean, definitely like enjoying the journey, right? I don't know if people talk about that enough, and I think it's really sad that when you can get to a certain place and then you look back and you're like, I don't remember it. I say this a lot when I talk about advice. I had a teacher, a theater teacher, who would always say, better an asshole than a chicken shit. And I love that idea so much because I don't ever want to move because of or like with fear. And I much rather like try something and not be great than not try and wonder what if, right? Like if I didn't go to film school, I'm nominated for an Emmy. Like for directing, you know what I'm saying? Like that is like.
If there ever was a mic drop.
Yeah. But like that.
Give it a nails.
But what I'm
You better go, girl. You better go. One more time. Can we just hear that again? I want that.
No, but I just want to. But I just want people to know that, like, even if you don't, like, if people are gonna tell you that you're not supposed to be here or you don't have these skill sets, like. Who cares? Like you can be at a place where you can just try and play and see what happens. And if you're doing something that's true to your heart, I do think there's an audience for that. And I think people will respond. And if they don't, at least you tried. And I know that sounds like we all get an award, but I think it means something.
Gets an Emmy, though.
Yeah. I didn't win the Emmy, but I do think that like it's important just to move with like I just want to try. I just want to leap. I want to leap without looking, like all that stuff. I think is really important, and I am always trying to like instill that in myself and in my friends that like if you're having this idea and this thing that's nagging at you, you owe it to yourself to try. Yeah.
I'm very unserendipitous, again, very calculated and very intentional. Like my life partner is like literally was written out before. So like everything for me, I just like am very robotic about, and so. For me, I always try to consider like my talent, my passion, my purpose, and my goals. And I realize in life whenever I've gone astray, it's because my order has been messed up. So if my goal is money and I put that first and I've put my purpose to the side, it's like I'm completely gone astray. And if my passion goes first sometimes rather than actually what my purpose is. I mean, the order that works for me is like purpose first. Why am I on this planet? What am I here to say? What value do I have to bring? Great. Then it's like, okay, well, what are my talents? What am I good at? How do I bring some actual merit to my purpose? And then it's like, okay, what are my goals? And passion's kind of the last thing. I think sometimes people like lead with like, I'm really passionate about like music and politics. I don't really know much about it. And so whenever I start engaging, even recently actually, I've been engaging in Twitter conversations, like, cause I'm like, I'm passionate about this topic, but I don't really,
you have, actually.
and I had to slow down. Yeah. I really just thought like, what's your purpose? Like you sometimes can negate your purpose by letting those things get ahead of you. So that's how I've kept myself in line and really sticking true to, again, at the very heart of it all, what am I great at? What am I here to tell? And at the end of the day, what would I be most satisfied saying that I left this world with?
Yeah. Amazing. And then I'll just wrap this up in looking at you guys. I think do the work. You guys have all done the work. Nobody here has not done research, is not doing analytics, is not doing like the structuring goals. Like I think you guys are really doing it, and that is something that I think is the most important part. That it doesn't matter about not going to film school. You actually know what you're doing. Yeah. You have done the work to learn it, right? And oftentimes I think people try to skip that step, and that's probably the step you actually can't skip in any kind of way. You could skip the followers, you could skip Twitter, you could skip YouTube, but you definitely cannot skip the work. So once again, thank you guys for not only being pretty, but also moisturized. And honestly, really, and given that real, this felt like a sister talk. I'm like, what are we, a girl group?
I didn't know I needed that today.
I really, and this is, I guess, to comparison. It's like, it's not even about comparison for me. I genuinely think you guys are doing good work. Like, I really, really do. I really like it. I think it's unique. So, can we take a picture?
Yes.
I'm so tiny, you guys are so tall.
Are we gonna stand up?
She's like,
Should we piggyback? So once again, thank you to all of these ladies for just being vulnerable and giving us their insights and telling us their stories. Also, thank you to GoDaddy for partnering with me on this amazing video and this discussion. I hope that you guys were able to get tips, Let me know in the comments if you are in this position in life, wanting to be a content creator, wanting to create your own unique lane, and how you are making the world that you want.